So in this video we're going to talk about for loop in Python. So the for loop is basically used to iterate over a sequence. So the sequence, I mean, this can be one list, this can be one tuple, and also this can be one string, and also this can be one range of numbers. So the for loop will execute a block of code for each element of one of these sequences. And there is some key differences between the while loop and the for loop. So the while loop iterates based on a condition, where the for loop will iterate over a sequence automatically. So first of all, take a look at the syntax of the for loop. So first of all, we have the for keyword, and then we're gonna have one variable, and after that we have the in, and after that the name of the sequence that we wanted to iterate. So the sequence can be any of these, and then we write one block of code inside that for loop, and the block of code will be repeatedly executed for every item of one of those sequences. So suppose we have one list of numbers like 1 2 3 4 5 and so on. So in every iteration of the for loop, the variable will represent every individual number. So in first iteration the variable will have the value of 1, in second iteration the variable will have the value 2, and the third iteration the value 3, and this way it will iterate over the entire list. So like an example, suppose we have one list of fruits. Now we can use the for loop and we can iterate over this list. So let's use the for loop. So for keyword and then the variable fruit. So the fruit will have every individual fruit in every iteration, and then we're gonna iterate over the fruits list, and then here we're gonna write the block of code that will be executed for every individual fruit. So here we're gonna simply print the fruit from that list. So you can see here we have the output. So this way we can use the for loop to iterate over a list, and also we can use the for loop to iterate over a string. So we're gonna use the for loop and then the variable ch in. So the string can be Python. In every iteration we're gonna get every individual character from the string, and then we're just gonna simply print all of those characters, and you can see we have printed every individual character of that particular string. And let's now see how we can use the range with the for loop. So we can use the for loop and we can traverse a particular range. So for I in range, so here we can pass 5. That means now we can traverse the range from 0 to 4. So let's now print I. So in first iteration it will represent 0, then 1 2 3 4 and so on. So here you can see we have the numbers printed from 0 to 4, and also we can print numbers within a certain range. So suppose we wanted to print from the range 5 to 10, so here we have to pass 5 comma 10. Now the for loop will print the range from 5 to 10. So here we have the output from 5 to 9, and also we can specify the step size. So as a third argument we can pass the step size, so we can pass 2. Now this range will print numbers with a step size of 2. That means it will print the numbers 5 and then 7 and then 9. So you can see it has a step of 2 between those numbers, and here you can see we have the output 5 7 and 9. And not just this, we can also reverse iterate one range. So suppose we wanted to print numbers from 5 to 1. So here we have to pass 5 and 1, and then we have to pass -1. So from 5 to 1 we're gonna print all of those numbers. That means it will start from 5 and then it will have the step of 1. So it will print 5 4 3 2, and then the loop will break. So let's now talk about nested for loop. That means in Python we can have one for loop nested inside another for loop. So suppose we have one outer for loop which will run in the range. So the range 2 means it will have the value 0 and 1. So inside the for loop, we're gonna have the inner for loop. So the for loop will iterate in the range 2. That means j will have the value 0 and 1. Now inside the for loop, we're gonna print the I and j. So we're gonna print the I, and also we're gonna print the value of j. So first of all, the outer loop will execute. So when the value of I is 0, the inner for loop will iterate 2 times, so the j will have the value 0 and 1. And again the outer loop will execute and the value of I will be increased to 1. So for the I value 1, the inner for loop will iterate 2 times starting from 0 and 1. So you can see, first of all I is 0. So for I 0, the inner j will run 2 times 0 and 1. And then again the I will increase. So the for outer for loop I1, the inner for loop j will run 2 times, so the j has the value 0 and 1. So this way the nested for loop works. And also a for loop can have one else part. So suppose we have one for loop in the range from 0 to 2. So here we can just print the range 2, that means it will print 0 and 1. So after the range ends the execution, then we can have the else part. So here we can print that the loop completed. So this else block will run if the loop completes without interrupted. So if the loop completes, then the else part will execute. So we can see loop completed. So here we have the output. We have the output 0 and 1. So after printed the range 0 and 1, we have loop completed. So this way we can use the else part after the for loop. And also we can use conditions within one for loop. So suppose we have one for loop in the range from 1 to 10. Now inside the for loop we can use conditions. So we can use the if keyword, and here we can only print even numbers. So I module 2, if that is equal 0, then only we can execute the print statement and we can print the value of I. So this way we are only able to print the even numbers within this range. So if we run this, so you can see we have printed only the even numbers in the range from 1 to 10. So this way we can use the for loop in Python, and it just simplifies the iteration, and here we don't have to explicitly use any kind of indexing. So here we can easily handle the list, tuple, string, and also one range. So hope you understand about for loop in Python. See you in the next one. Take care.